We're going to pick up there, but today we're going to kind of shift our focus away from what's going on in the cities. And what we're going to start with today is going to be what's going on in rural areas. What's going on in the countryside. Now, like I've been saying, things are going to get worse before they get better. And people in the countryside, it's very possible they have things worse than what's going on in the city. Because, yeah, we have economic ruin in the cities. But on the Great Plains, we're going to have a disaster taking place at maybe the worst possible time. What we're going to have to deal with on the Great Plains is a man-made disaster coupled with a natural disaster, all while the economy has fallen apart. Now, we had been talking about kind of in the past, excuse me. During World War I, farmers had real economic boom. Because during World War I, we had to produce more agricultural goods to ship overseas. Remember, we're feeding not only ourselves, but our allies as well. When the war comes to an end, that demand somewhat dries up. We don't necessarily have to ship all these agricultural goods to our allies anymore. But the farmers are in this weird economic scenario where they have borrowed this money to buy farm goods so they can produce more goods. Now, I need to kind of ask first. Demand goes down. Do we need as much supply? No. So demand's down, you don't need as much supply. But the farmers have borrowed all this money to buy combines and tractors, and they still owe all that money. So if you're a farmer, how do you get more money then?
Produce more stuff.
Produce more. So you got to plant and harvest. And if that's not enough, you plant and harvest. And if that's not enough, what do? Plant and harvest. So we're in this kind of weird economic scenario. To make more money, these farmers need more supply. So they plant and harvest and plant and harvest and plant and harvest. So they're producing more. What does that do to price if you have more supply and still low demand? Prices are falling. This is the weird economic scenario they find themselves. They're planting more and harvesting more and driving the price of crops down. Now there's another problem with this. When they plant and harvest, plant and harvest, plant and harvest, they're exhausting the natural resources of the land. They are, quite honestly, taking all the nutrients out of the soil. By plant, harvest, plant, harvest, plant, harvest, those nutrients can't regenerate. We have a man-made problem at the same time as we have a natural disaster. From Texas in the south to North Dakota, the Great Plains have the worst drought that they've experienced in over 100 years. The worst drought coupled with this man-made practice of plant, harvest, plant, harvest, plant, harvest. They've exhausted the land. Now, we've talked about kind of this land in the Great Plains. This is some of the richest farmland in the entire world. This deep, rich, dark soil is starting to turn to dust. When it starts to turn to dust, we have this big problem because the rains aren't coming. Now we've got high winds as well. Now, I'll go ahead and just throw it out there. If you have all this dust just sitting as the topsoil, and now you've got high winds coming, I'll go and ask you, what do you think is going to happen to all that dust? It gets blown away. Now, it's kind of hard to even imagine this. It's hard to even wrap your mind around it. That once deep, rich, dark soil of the Great Plains becomes just massive dust storms. Now, I will ask, because I bet, well, actually, I'll say, I seriously doubt it. Have you guys ever been to Arizona when they have a sandstorm come through? Because it happens mildly regularly. They get these just huge sandstorms that just blows through town and then it's over. It's a weird phenomenon because you can literally just see a wall of sand coming your way. Now, I'll go ahead and ask you guys, if you saw a wall of sand or dust coming your way, what do?
Run.
I gotta let people say, run. All right?
Run home.
Where are you gonna run?
Anywhere.
It's coming for you. This wall of sand, dust, it's coming for you. So Bailey, you said something else. What do you want to do?
Run into a building or something.
Go hide somewhere, right? Find some kind of shelter. Bailey, I think that's a great idea because that's really all you can do. It's coming for you. This right here was a picture of one of these dust storms. This wall of dust is about 500 feet tall. It's coming for you. So what do? Get inside. Hide. Or maybe leave. We're going to see thousands upon thousands of farmers in the Midwest leave their family homes, leave the farms, because there is rumor, that there might be work out in California. Now, I'll just ask this too. Do you think California can support thousands and thousands of farmers leaving the Great Plains and just going to California? No. During the Great Depression. It's a worst possible scenario. So I want to just show you a picture here of something that maybe does a good job of showing these dust storms and what the problem is. This right here was a family farm in Oklahoma. Now I want to go ahead and ask, do you see a whole lot of crop production going on? You've got a barren wasteland. This was the family car. Up to the windows in dust. About 3 feet of dust. What do you do with this? It's just sitting there. And now we have economic issues that rival any other problems ever. Are things bad on the Great Plains? How do we even fix it? I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't know what you do. How do you fix just miles and miles of dust?
A giant vacuum.
One huge vacuum to just suck it all up and then, push it into the ocean. There we go. Problem solved. I like the thinking outside the box here. Who should solve this problem? People look to President Hoover. What has Hoover said the whole time about, all these issues are going on?
Can't do anything to help.
I can't do anything. I don't have that power. Show me in the Constitution where I can do that. He's correct. No other president before him ever solved economic issues. They didn't have that power. So now here's Hoover, thrown into this mess that wasn't even his doing. I almost feel bad for Hoover, because everyone blames him. He didn't start this. He didn't do anything to begin the Great Depression. And now everyone's saying, fix it. And he just says, I can't. I don't have that power. But I have good news. We've dealt with economic woe before. And guess what? We got out of it. So what's going to happen here is we're going to get out of it. Even Hoover said this, I think it's almost a quote. He says, I have a secret weapon. I have the American people. They've gotten out of economic problems before. We're going to do it again. He says he opposes federal welfare. He hates the idea of the federal government getting involved because he says it will ruin our rugged individualism. This is one of his most famous lines because he says the thing that's gotten us out of economic problems before is you. You, the American people. You, the individual. You have figured it out. You have seen economic problems, and we've adjusted. It's on you. We're gonna get better. We're gonna get out of these problems. But I can't do it. You can. Now, I will say this. You gotta take a look at his wording, and it goes a couple of different ways. First off, if he starts saying, you can do it, does it make you feel pretty good about yourself? Maybe some optimism there? Maybe. Do you think the American people in the Great Depression, covered in dust, want to hear, I can't do anything. You can. You do it. This doesn't necessarily go over very well. The American people look at Hoover and they start kind of turning on him, saying that, yeah, we've had economic problems before, yeah, we've got out of them before, but nothing like this. We need to change things. We need to do something to fix it. You do something. So here's Hoover saying, again, this is for years, I can't really do anything. I don't know how to get us out of these problems, because no one has done that before. It's always been you. It's always been the American public. It's always been you that got us back on track. So you do it. Things get worse. During his presidency, the economy continues to slide. It gets worse and worse and worse. And here's still Hoover saying, you can do it. You can get us out of this. Hoover's got a problem, though. As like every president, after 4 years, what does Hoover have to go through?
Re-election.
He needs to try to get reelected. Now, let me just go ahead and throw this out there. Do you think this guy's getting reelected?
No.
Do you think any president's going to get reelected with economic woe and he says, I don't know what to tell you? Is that going to play well? Not at all. I'll be the first one to say it. I feel bad for Hoover, but I don't know why he's even running for reelection. Not going to go well. There's someone who runs against him who has basically the opposite plan of Hoover. What we're going to see is there's a candidate that runs against him that says, I'm going to not only do something, I'm going to drastically do something. I am going to take the power of government to pull us out of this mess. Now let's kind of compare and contrast a little bit. You got one guy saying, I can't do anything. And another guy promising, I'm going to fix all your problems. Does that sound nice? Sure. Franklin Delano Roosevelt has been a long-term politician, but he's never sought the presidency before. Now's his time. Now his opportunity. In 1932, Hoover runs for re-election against Roosevelt. Like I said, I don't know why. I think it's a horrible idea. But he does run for re-election. Guess what happens to Hoover here? Do you think he's going to win?
No.
Do you think Hoover thinks he's going to win?
No.
I don't know. It's hard to
He
say.
definitely knows that he's not going to win.
Oh man, I don't know what he's thinking, because when he runs for re-election, he loses in an absolute landslide. One of the biggest lopsided presidential votes we've ever had. So I want to show you a couple of visuals here. And I will tell you this, for these visuals, I'm going to ask you just to write down just a couple of things. Just what do you see? Just what do you notice? First one I want to show you is going to be the election map of 1928. The election when Hoover won. Now I will tell you, Hoover's a Republican, FDR's a Democrat. The way that we kind of do things is Republican states are red, Democrat states are blue. Take a look, this is 1928. What do you see, what do you notice? Yes, sir, Jen?
Everything's basically red except for one northern state. 5 southern states?
A lot of red states here. Take a look at the number, the electoral vote count. Hoover wins 444 electoral votes. Smith gets 87.